Okay, my first guest today is someone that I've been following for a while, for I would say a few years now. I look up to this person. They've kind of impacted how I engage recruiting and how I maneuver through my career. There's a lot of similarities between us, and we'll talk about these things. But I want to introduce Joel. He is kind of the leader behind the Realest Recruiter online. Joel, welcome to the podcast. How's it going? Thank you for coming.
Enrique, great to be here. And now I got to ask you, though, you got to say my last name.
No, I have a trauma behind this because I messed up Adam's last name, and I just don't say last names anymore.
All right, fair enough.
How do you say it? How do you say it?
It's Lalgee.
Lalgee. Oh, that's easy.
It's easy.
There's a lot of things I want to get into with you. I'm really excited. I mean, like I mentioned in my intro, like I've been following you for a long time, man. Like it's weird. Like we have a lot of similarities, like professionally and personally, I feel like. And it's cool to not feel like I'm the only one doing what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's cool to see people like you that seem, integrous and hardworking and diligent. And you seem to be a good, Papa Bear. And it's cool to see that. Like I admire that kind of thing in people. And I think it's rare to find that in folks nowadays because of our industry and the world we live in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Joe, can you give us like, let's pretend we're maybe in like a 4 or 5 minute cab ride together and you're talking to somebody, like introduce yourself. Like, how do you best introduce yourself to the world?
Hello, I'm Joel and I'm not an AI bot. No, I just always tell people, started off in recruitment about a decade ago, or it's a decade ago, actually this month.
Wow.
And prior to that, I really did not take my career seriously at all. So I spent most of my 20s partying and, just doing whatever I wanted to do. Did not focus on my career one bit. Just never really like put any weight into a lot of the things people do. Like college, didn't really care about. Work a professional, didn't really care about. I lived to support myself so I could live independently. And then I was just big into partying. And around like my late 20s, I had a friend of mine who's a mentor, and he started a recruitment business and was like, dude, you gotta get into this recruiting business. I've never done recruiting. He's like, doesn't matter. I'll teach you everything. He's like, the only caveat is you got to move. And at the time I was living in Southern California, and he was like, you got to move back to Wisconsin, which is kind of like where my family base is. I was like, he's like, it's a fully remote job. I'll teach you everything you need to know.
Wow.
And at the time I was working in banking. So even though I wasn't really professionally focused, I'd gotten a job doing like bank loans, bank origination, managing a bank.
What?
And I was working like, crazy hours, like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Dang.
And so he said, get into recruiting. And I did that. And it's just been, it's been a decade in recruitment space. And, up until about 5 years into my career, I was just kind of a consultant working with lots of different partners. And then about 5 years into my career, I said, you know what? A little bit bored in this role. And that's when I really got into content creation. And I just had this vision of if I could build a brand, if I can build something recognizable within the industry, then I don't have to do cold calling. Then I don't have to do all of this like business development.
Yeah.
And at the time, people were like, dude, this guy's weird. Like he's posting on LinkedIn, but it's just built into something that's recognizable, something that's created income streams as well, which is really, really helpful, which we could talk about. And just open up the door to what I want to do, which is, do recruiting, media, building relationships with people in the space. And it's been an exciting journey that's, nowhere near began because I'm not even 40 yet. So
how old are you, Joe?
I don't ever tell anybody my age.
Well, you're not 40, so you're under 40, which means
I'm under 40. That's all we need to know.
You're over 40. 30, under 40. We're probably the same age. I'm 36.
All right.
Yeah, like by measurement of time.
We're a similar age. Late. I'm in my 30s. Okay, let's just say that.
You touched on. I mean, there's so many things that I want to touch on. I mean, this friend of yours. Why do you think they said that they wanted you to get into recruiting? What was it about you, like banking, recruiting? Like, what do you think that they thought about you?
Yeah, I mean, this friend, the guy's name is Jonathan Reynolds. He's like huge hero of mine.
Mm,
I've known him for a long, long time, and I think for him, like his whole thing is like putting people, in their right seats, like helping them
mm.
find their purpose. And um, I think I think he just knew me, so he's just like,
Yeah.
"Why are you working in banking?" Like I'm wearing like a suit every day, like, dude, it's banking. It's like
You
highly
definitely weren't wearing a
regulated.
suit at Transform.
Nah, but it's like I was wearing a suit every day, like tie, like
Yeah,
three-piece
yeah.
suit. I was banking industry super regulated and um probably the only thing I had that I would say worked well for me in banking is like I'm really, really good at math. I'm really good at numbers. So like I had to do a
Mm.
lot of like cash flow analysis and like I was just good. I'm good at numbers.
Ugh.
Um, but the core of the job really, even in like bank origination, when you're running a bank, is relationships, right?
Yeah.
You bring people into the bank, open up a new account, and you're like, "Hey, what are your goals? What are your visions? What are you looking to try and
Mm,
accomplish?
mm.
Hey, here's how we can help you." I think he saw that, and he was building his recruitment agency, and just wanted people who were people who could connect with people, and that's probably why I was like, "Hey, recruiting can be a good space." And on top of that, one of the core values of his company was entrepreneurialism, if that's a word, entrepreneurism.
Yeah, yeah.
And, it was like at that time, he had, like, 7 or 8 people at the agency, and
Oh,
it was
wow.
like, grow, 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 grow,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's the type of person I am, is just like, Imma try and figure it out. Now where I think we parted ways 5 years into it was his company, got to be 200, 300 people,
Wow.
and that's when you need process. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
remember they
side.
started building out the processes and, I was like, "Yo, I don't do process." Like,
I don't wanna fit in this box. Get me out of this box.
that's how it was. And it's like they would I get, now that I'm a business owner, now that I've worked at various size companies, process is crucial when you're
It's
looking to
important, yeah.
scale. I'd like bring new people into the organization and I'm like, "Yo, just hit the phone, like, I'll be on the back, like,
Hit the
I'll walk you through it, I'll be
Yeah.
DMing you." You learn by doing. Their idea was like you learn through following the process. And so I think
Mm.
that's where we started to bump heads a little bit. And
Yeah.
I'll forever be grateful.
Yeah.
My he's my guy. I will gladly set people up with him. But we just went different ways. And I don't know if you know
Yeah.
PI at all, a predictive index. Do you follow that at all?
No.
So that's like personality profiles. And basically,
Oh, like strengths finders or Enneagram, things like that.
similar to that, yeah. And
Yeah.
predictive index, like I'm what they
DISC.
call a maverick. So
Oh.
Mavericks, they go 2 ways. They either become business owners or they go to jail. But you can't really be like a maverick in an organization, and he's the CEO of this company was a maverick too. So it's like
Mm.
and I learned a ton. Like, I just figured out like, "Oh, wow, like,
Yeah.
I could do my own thing. This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
awesome." So,
I
that's
always
how I
think
went.
of it like because I started my similar. I started my recruiting career in like for a big staffing company. I was there for like almost 5 years, and I'm. I mean, I don't. There's too much to cover on that topic, but in essence, it's kind of like the foundation of my recruiting abilities. I learned that like, oh, I could do this. I'm good at this.
Yep,
Wow, like I'm fulfilled by it. Like I'm happy when I'm doing it. I don't Most people wake up and they dread what they have to do for work. That sucks.
yep,
That's no fun. And so I would wake up and I'm like, let's go. I'm gonna go fill some roles
yep,
um and I did it well, but like you reach a point where you're like, you know what, there's something different that I want to do in recruiting. But those first years are like the foundational years for like how I work. Like I work just as hard now, if not harder, but I leverage all the things I've learned along the way, all that compounding knowledge.
yep.
Anyways,
Did
um,
you always know? Like, I mean, like, did you like get into that role? I saw it was with Aerotech, right? So Aerotech
mhm.
has great training, like
Oh yeah,
super discipline. Like, you got to get the action. But did you know then, like right from the get go, like, hey, I'm gonna do my own thing?
I feel like I intuitively knew I could do this, but I was young. I was in my early 20s, and before that, I did a couple like sales roles, and I sold things well. And but either the company, I sold what I really loved selling. Like one of them was like a kids educational system online, that was really cool for kids, and I enjoyed that, but I wasn't making any money because it was
Yeah.
a startup.
Yeah.
And the next company, I was selling like copper fittings for like to HVAC companies across the country, and I was making money, but I wasn't like waking up jazzed up about selling copper fittings,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I had the taste of like, okay, I could do what I really am passionate about, or I could do what can make me money. And then I went to like, I don't know, I think we were married or dating, my wife and I. Then we went to like her work holiday party, and her coworker, her husband, the husband is like a big time recruiter guy. And
Nice.
they went home that night, and he told her, his wife, hey, uh, what's that guy's Enrique, Jen's husband? He should be a recruiter. He'd be a great recruiter. So then the wife told my wife, hey, my husband said he'd be a good recruiter.
Yeah. It's just
So
how it
then
happens, right?
just because I was a chatterbox at this thing, just a schmoozer. And I looked for recruiting jobs, and Aerotech was one of the companies I was hiring, and I was there for a while. So yeah, at Aerotech, I learned all those foundational things, and I was in a department where I was doing high volume. Like I hired thousands of people in 5 years. Like it was high volume, like low spread, like low commission roles, and it was cool to fill those roles because a lot of these people needed jobs. But a lot of the younger kids that would come in, they would just go to engineering roles and make tons of commissions. And I was like, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you grow up and you mature and you start building a life. You get married, you maybe have kids. All these things start to kind of add on. And I just posted about the other day where it's like there was a time where when I was younger, like yes, the hustle, the grind, like the Gary V, like work harder, stay longer, do more, be the workhorse. Like that's like definitely, I think, a good thing when you're young and you're early in your career and you're building that foundation. But then, things change, life changes, and we got hit by COVID. So you kind of like, yeah, today is different. The world is different. And I think people like you and me are learning how to kind of maneuver through this new, what could be normal for people nowadays, for our kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, let's see. Let's talk about some recruiting. You mentioned you've been in the recruiting world for like decade this year. Congrats. In this last decade, Joel, how would you say, like, what would you say is the biggest mindset shift a recruiter needs to make to be successful today?
Yeah. Look, I don't even think it's just recruiters that need to make a mindset
Mm.
shift. It's everybody. And I talk about this a lot because I do a lot of content around AI. Like I make a
Hmm.
lot of different like AI and
I see your post, man. Everything is cooked. Everything is cooked for you.
yeah, I mean that's the job market's cooked, right? But um, what it is like, there's a shift that's going on where companies are doing restructuring. Okay, so unless you're living under a rock and you can't tell, large companies are looking to consolidate. They're looking to become more efficient, and they're
Hmm.
essentially looking to do more with less. Okay,
Hmm.
so more efficiencies. So it's all about efficiencies. So I think whether you're in recruiting, whether you're in HR, marketing, sales, like you got to get a grasp on what's the value that you bring in the organization. And I think for recruiters, the more clear you are on like what's the value that you're bringing to the organization that you work with, if you're internal or if you're agency, it's a similar thing. It's just a little bit easier if you're agency, right? Because it's like, hey, I'm either filling roles for a company, but I'm also seeing like recruiters that are internal that are looking to go fractional, right? Because
Hmm.
maybe the company you're working with goes, we just don't have enough open roles. We
Right.
can't have somebody full time, but they're going to have churn. They're going to have people leave. So maybe then your role transitions into, okay, I'm fractional, working 10 to 20 hours a week. Or I kind of open up my own agency. And then when that company I'm working with has an opening, now they just come to me and I'm my own agency. So I think where it ties into all roles is you've got to be really clear on like what's the value that you're bringing. And then I think you've got to get creative with how you take what skills you have and how
Mhm.
you impact organizations and how can I package that to make money. So I think one of the things we have to think about and professionals just need to think about in general is, do I want to be it, is like the traditional career track really sustainable? or do I need to start thinking about how to create other income streams
Mhm.
that kind of like equate to what one role would have equated to in the past? So I talk to a lot of recruiters right now that are out of work. They're laid off. They're looking for jobs. And I'm like, you got to think more creatively. So maybe that's working hourly with some companies. Maybe it's a couple of companies on retainer. Maybe it's getting a fractional job with one company and then doing like contingent recruiting with
Right.
another.
Right.
Maybe it's helping job seekers. You know, I think this idea of like resilience, knowing where to add value, and then knowing how to just generate income, it's just a must have across the
Mhm.
board. And I think if you're not facing that right now, I think in the next 5 years, it's you need to kind of anticipate that you're either gonna get laid off at some point, your work situation is gonna change. Um, and then there's obviously gonna be a small percentage of people who start off as that like recruiting coordinator and then they go to the recruiting manager,
Yeah.
recruiting director, and a VP. There's gonna be those people,
Yeah.
but I think that pool of people is gonna shrink down,
Yeah,
and
for
most
sure.
of us are gonna be in that place where it's like, all right, I just got laid off, or I've had a change, and now my income situation has changed. And so I think my encouragement to people is like figure out how to survive, dude. Like just how to
Yeah.
survive and not be just tied to one income stream. Which it kinda sounds extreme, I know, but
No, I
I
mean,
honestly think it's the reality.
that's my reality. That's what I am. I'm like a fractional recruiter for multiple companies, and it ebbs and it flows. And um, yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree that people need to like realize that change is already here. So I mean, you've built your personal brand. Like you speak directly to job seekers or hiring people. Like, how has your personal brand like helped or challenged your work in recruiting?
Yeah, I mean, look from I'm an agency, so I'm kinda similar to you, so we're always riding that tide of
Mm.
business development, placing candidates, consulting. I think, like, the way that a personal brand and I think let's just differentiate between 2 things, right? You have personal brand, which everybody has a personal brand. So, like, whether or not you have a following online, you still have a personal brand. It's what
Right.
people say about you, what they say about your work. So we
When
all
you're
have
not
like an
there.
yeah, you have an ecosystem.
Right.
And so traditionally, and I would say still today, like everything's going to be dependent on like, do you execute on the work that you're doing? Do you have happy clients? Are they referring you? Like that's personal brand. Where I think what I think has happened is over the last like 5 to 10 years, people have taken personal brand and it's become online personal brand. But I
Mm.
just want to be clear, like that
Mhm.
recruiter that's been recruiting for 30 years, that has a book of business and is billing $1 million, they have an extremely strong personal brand. It's not
Right.
online. They might have 0 followers, but they have a strong personal brand.
Right, exactly.
How my online personal brand or my online brand has helped is I think in this day and age, we put credibility, a lot of credibility is tied into how many followers you have.
Yeah.
Whether or not, like I see people talking about it all the time, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, let's just cut it. All right. Like if you have followers, you're going to have access to people in a way that people don't have followers, don't have access to.
Right.
And so that's where it's helped me. It's just helped me get access to speaking, stages, emceeing. It's given me access now to leaders because when I invite them to connect on LinkedIn and they go, wow, this guy's got 250,000 followers, I stand out because there might be
Yeah.
20 other people in their inbox that don't have that. So that's one way that it's helped. I think it's helped with skills like speaking,
Mhm.
communication,
Right.
writing, video, all of those things it's helped with. And then it's helped out with just income streams. Fact of the matter is, there are companies that are looking to drive business, they're looking to drive sales, and online, like e-commerce, content, organic traffic is a legitimate way to get new clients. So I used to it's funny, like 5 years ago when I started doing this, people would ask me the same thing. Be like, "What's the ROI of this?" I'm like, "The ROI is to come." It's like I've got vision for this ROI, and now
Mhm.
I'm at a
Mhm.
position where it's like the ROI has come.
Yeah.
Um, I just look at it as the simplest way to put it is like the more people that know you, the easier it is to connect with more people. So,
Right.
I would encourage anybody, whether you're just starting, whether you've been in recruiting, whether you've been in professional space for 10 to 20 years. I would say if you're not thinking about online brand, online, I think you need to be thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I have seen a transition over the last 5 years. I think we're at a time now where everybody's thinking about it, and so there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who are jumping in.
Mhm.
My advice to anybody who's just starting, and I would qualify just starting as, like, you've been doing it for less than a year, just know all these people you see doing stuff today, there's a huge percentage of chance that 5 years from now, they will not be doing it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
consistency is everything when it
Right,
comes to the online brand.
right. No, I love that. I love that. You've talked about your faith a little bit online, I've noticed. Talk to
Yeah.
me about how you intersect faith and work.
Yeah, easy, dude. God's my provider, so, without him, like, I got no money, and the reason I've
Mm.
become more vocal about this is because I think, um, like, as somebody who just painting the picture, dude, just, like, 2 years ago, I'm working for a company called Hirewell, shout out to Hirewell, amazing recruitment agency, and I'm, like, helping their sales team and, like, basically moved into a sales role, working with the CRO, guy called James Hornick, who's big on LinkedIn, super cool dude, and, basically the pipeline nearly went down to 0, and
Wow.
I just moved into a new house, and it was like the mortgage doubled, and the
Yeah.
whole idea was like, "Hey, I'm making a base, but the base is not covering everything." It's like I'm trying to
Yeah.
live off commission, and
Right, right.
but our strategy was like, let's go after, companies that have just gotten funding, and we'll do like an RPO solution and like give them a monthly consultant. But it's like literally, I took that position July 2022, and it was just like that was right when, like, the SVB bank failed,
Oh,
like,
no.
interest rates were, like, going up, and the funding was getting non-existent, so, like, the company mindset went from, "Hey, let's just grow," to, "Let's just keep our runway," and so we
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need to grow, so all the recruiter roles
Yeah.
dried up,
Oof.
and I'm looking at my pipeline, it's 0, 0, 0, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, how what am I gonna do?" And
Mm.
so that's when I had the idea of like, "Oh, I've got a podcast, maybe I could just get a sponsor for the podcast." And so
Mm.
I got a sponsor for the podcast, a company called Bright Hire, amazing company, shout out to
Mhm.
them. And I was like, "Wow, this company wants to sponsor my podcast." And then I start thinking like, I've got a big following, like, I'm sure, brand deals are a thing, and so I was like, I bet I could do some stuff. The only issue I had was Hirewell, the company I worked with, they were part of another company that had, like, an ecosystem of, like, tech tools, so it became kind of a conflict of interest, so I basically went to
No.
Hirewell and said, "Look, why don't I just do my own thing? If I get business, I'm happy to send it your way for, like, I'll be, like, a commission-only salesperson," and worked out really, really well, and I just started building my own business,
Hmm.
but it got to a point where it was like I remember it was 2 years ago, it was July 2022 or July 2023, maybe that timeline doesn't mesh up. It's 2023 anyway, that's when I went solo. It's 2 years ago, and basically, dude, like, I'd set up payment plans, like, terribly. So, like, I was doing training at the time, like, I was doing training for companies with social media, and I was working with these, like, huge companies, and they all put me on, like, a net 90 or net 120. One of the companies was net 120, and I'm like, I didn't understand, I guess, or I didn't think
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
about it, that net 90 meant I'm not gonna get any money for 3 months, and so I remember it, so clear, like, I woke up one
Mm.
night and I'm, like, sweating. "Oh,
Yep.
what is
I know
going on?"
that. I know that sweat.
Yeah, I checked the bank account, it's, like, negative,
Yep.
and then my
Yep.
accountant's like, "I need money for taxes,"
Mhm.
and so basically, like, I had to borrow some money, which, like, dude, that's huge, right? If you got family that can, like, help you out. Um, borrowed is the last time I've ever borrowed money from, like, my parents, and first time ever
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I've actually done it because I prided myself on being a
Yeah, yeah.
provider.
Being a provider, breadwinner, all that stuff.
Yeah, and so basically, like, had no money, um,
Mm.
asked my dad to borrow some, and obviously I had money on paper, so, like, that was a little bit of peace of mind. Um, but me and my wife were just like, we believe in God, we believe that He's a provider, and so
Mm.
we literally just start praying. I did a post about it recently where like we literally, um, we're just on our face, like, praying and just being like, God,
Mhm.
like if this is right, like if what I'm doing is right, um, just make it clear. And, sometimes there's this thing like, I don't know what religion people have, but like there's this thing where you could put out like almost like a question to God and just be like, God, if this is right, And so like the question was like, if this is right, like I just need to know, I need 2 clients like now. And now granted, this isn't just like, hey, I'm praying to God and I haven't done any work. Like prior to that, I had been hitting BD so hard. Like I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
waking up
right.
at 4 in the morning and sending out thousands of DMs. Like I was going
Wow.
hard and I had sales meetings. So I had some stuff that was close to closing, but I was just at that point. I was like, God, I need this stuff to close.
Right.
And literally that next day, 2 clients closed and I changed the payment arrangements to get 50% up front and 50% when the training was done.
Heck yeah.
Got the money in the bank account. They would like send the invoice and um but really the lesson there was like God's my provider. So
Mm,
the way that that impacts me in business is like I used to wake up every Monday like freaking out. And I'm not saying I'm perfect with this. Like there's definitely been
sure.
times in those 2 years where I've been like, okay, I need something. But like the amount of times like he's just shown up and like opened up a door, opened up some business is huge. And so I say that because for a lot of entrepreneurs, like there's such a like if you have any type of faith, like I don't know what your faith is, I don't know what people out there their beliefs
Mhm.
are, but like for me, having that faith in God has been huge because it takes that burden of like having to do stuff like from me to him. And
Mhm.
you know, as a dad, I'm also super aware of like I got to provide for my family, but I also have a God that provides for my kids. So like he loves my kids more than I'll ever love them. And so when you have that type of faith, dude, it opens stuff up. And so that how I think faith just operates in my business and um you know, it's being there for people too and like I try and be someone who's like there for people as much as possible. Definitely not perfect. Like I'm not like one of those guys like, oh, I'm a perfect person or anything
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, man, that's how it
It
is for
doesn't say
me.
the perfect recruiter. Behind you says the realist recruiter.
As a realist, which like again, that's a whole identity thing, which can get kind of
I
weird.
mean, it's a
But
brand, like I try not to change for anybody any like I don't really change who I am. In corporate America it's called code switching, right? I remember being younger and like talking a little bit different, dressing a little bit nicer, being a little bit more less urban or or whatever. And now it's just like I could be me. I could be
yeah,
myself.
I it's look, dude, this is like it's so funny because it's one of the things that's really challenging, right? Like I got close to like 1 million followers online,
Yeah,
which like the reason
that's
I say that
crazy.
is not to be like, oh my gosh, like 1 million followers. What I mean by that is like, all right, I had like 50 people follow me on LinkedIn last night because I made a post about, you know, funny stuff on LinkedIn. Okay. But like those 50 people that just followed me, it's like they don't know me. They literally saw
Sure.
one
Yeah.
post and now they like follow me. And so what can happen is like people's experience of me, like they create their own version of like
Right.
who I
Exactly.
am because of
Right.
videos or whatever. And it can be like a weird mind thing. And so I think like this is one of the challenges and one of the things that I'm like even struggling with right now and like trying to figure
Mhm.
out is like, okay, I have a brand, which is like, I've chosen to identify. Obviously, I've got a sign here that says like the realest recruiter, but it's like that brand is just like Nike. Like Nike can mean a lot of different things to a lot
Sure.
of different people.
Right.
So when you do that to yourself, then it becomes this weird thing. And it's like talking about the dress thing. Like I just posted about this where it's like I just did a recent event a couple months ago, and the complaint was like I'm not professional enough. Like
Oh,
I'm a
like
YouTuber.
the feedback after the conference was like he wasn't professional enough?
Yeah, and it's like and part of me is like, well, whatever. Like, I don't want to be professional. Like, what does that even mean? But then, like, part of me is like, well, I don't know.
You're
Like,
not gonna get called back if you don't, change it.
yeah, and it's like, and it's funny. Like today, like I'm like wearing this shirt. Okay, like I don't usually wear like collared shirts, but like I noticed on some of the calls I had today, like it actually helped me connect with the other person I'm talking to because they're wearing a collared shirt. So I think it's like first of all, I think it's like identifying like what makes you you and like is it the external things or is it like an understanding of like, well, people are gonna make judgments regardless. And if you can influence how someone is judging you based on like what you're wearing and appearing,
Right.
does that change the core of who you are? So it's like those are the types of things I think about a
It
lot, you know?
no, I mean, I don't have a million followers. Maybe after this podcast, I will. Maybe your followers will
Yeah,
be like,
you
"This
probably
guy,
get
you
10. You get 10.
let's go." Um, I think I mean, I have close to like 20,000 on LinkedIn or something like that,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
10,000. And I always think to myself, like, I looked one day because I never really looked. I was like, oh, and I had like over 8,000. I was like, and I started looking online, like an image of 8,000. What does an 8,000 thing look like? What is 8,000 boats, 8,000 people, 8,000 animals? Like, it's like, man, like, and to me, dude, like, and maybe it's because I have like so little followers compared to you. Like, I to me it just doesn't matter because my code for posting online is pretty simple. My code on Instagram or LinkedIn, well, more LinkedIn, um, is I have like layers of code. Like my first one is if I post this in the future, will my kids look at it and be like, "That was cool, pops. That's a good thought." Like after like their frontal lobe, develops, like, will they think, "Man, my dad had a good thought on that. I
Mm,
appreciate my dad," especially if I'm not around. If I'm not around, right? Like, um, if my kids will say, "Man, that's my dad was always a good leader. Had a good thought, a positive, encouraging thought."
mm,
Right? That's first layer of I could post this because my kids will one day. If my kids one day see this and they feel good, cool.
yeah,
So if I pass that layer, great. The next layer is if I post if after the kids, if my wife reads it today,
yeah,
and if my wife thinks, dude, you think you're too cool, or like, dude, you're trying too hard. Like if I feel like my wife will think I'm being cocky or boastful or something like that, then I don't post it.
yeah,
So and it's hard because sometimes I want to today. I think today I posted about the banner, the open to work banner, and how people just give crappy advice about using it or not using it. Like, oh, you're desperate if you use it, don't use it. And I'm just like, it was like a professional post, but like I wanted to curse the whole time, you know? Like I was like, stop giving this kind of beep, 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 beep advice, like
yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe one day I'll have a million followers and I'll think different, but I just don't think for me, I don't want the number to influence that filter system.
Yeah, but
Right.
that's what I'm saying is, like, even with the 10,000 or 20,000, which is a lot of people, you have no influence over, like, what people think of you based on
True.
what you post. That's the point I'm making, is
True. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
people let's say, like, someone follows you today because of that green banner. They literally have no idea, like, who you are as a person.
Right.
They've just seen that post, and so that's the point that I'm making is, like,
Is that is that why you're posting a little bit more like the faith stuff, the personal, like the weight loss, the sober stuff, because you're trying to give people a little bit more of an inside look of to you more deeper, or is it just
yeah, I've always posted stuff about, like, my family.
Mhm,
I haven't posted necessarily so much stuff about faith in the past. I mean, I
mhm.
guess I've had posts here and there.
I
The
see them.
so
I like them.
well, I appreciate that. The sober stuff, like, I'm definitely not trying to make my platform about, like,
Yeah.
not drinking. But, like, I've had 3 people this week because here's the thing, like, there was a guy that I used to work with, named Sean Anderson. He's over at a company called Hawk. So he completely gave up drinking, like, 18 months ago, and I would see his posts, and, like, every time I would see his posts, like, I was kind of annoyed because I was like,
Mm,
"Oh, he's what?" Like, "This is stupid." Like, I could have a beer too, like, what does it matter?
mm,
Um, but then, like, I just, you know, basically, came to a point where, like, I felt really challenged again from, like, God, essentially to, like, stop drinking, and so I did, but I know a lot of it was, like, influenced too with, like, seeing him make the change because
mm,
in my head, I was like, "It's kinda becoming a little bit of a crux for me," where, like, as a Christian, I do believe, like, God wants, like he wants to be that for us. So it's like, if
mhm.
I'm going to, like, a drink to relax, like, no, that just shouldn't be a dependency type thing.
Right.
And that's what I was feeling when I was seeing those posts. So, in me posting that, it's more for, like, awareness of, like, "Hey, this is actually a possible thing for you if that's what you choose." And I've had, like even this week, I had a friend, somebody I really look up to say like, "Hey, just want to let you know, like, I've actually stopped drinking, like, because of that change I've seen in you."
That's
So
really cool.
that it's like sometimes it's just like pointing those things out so people know. And I think again with the faith thing, like, it can be a little bit taboo, right? Like you start talking about Christians and God, it can, it can make some people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
so to get,
I
it's that visibility in there as well.
I don't personally, man, like I think it's really cool that you post about your faith. Like I feel like I sprinkle in tones of my faith in my posts and the things that I do, like, but I admire it. Like maybe I'll post more about it, but I think now more than ever, Christians should just post and be and not be like not feel any kind of way about like sharing your faith. Like people
Yeah.
share everything online. Like, it's not like we're sharing like super negative stuff. We're sharing our faith. And I just think if 2025 we can't, sprinkle in some faith, like, come on.
Well, and
Man.
and this is the thing too, is like I do want, like to your point, like I do want people to know parts of who I am as well. Like the reality is like now I don't share as much personal stuff as I did once online,
Sure.
mainly because there's psychos out there. So like I used to actually share a lot about like my family and my kids. I don't share as much about them now because like I had a couple incidents where people went like crazy. Like, dude, I had a guy emailing my wife, like all this stuff. So
What?
uh
Man.
yeah, because dude, it's like you build out that reach. And like I changed, dude, like a couple years ago, like I used to be a lot more like snarky online. I used to leave like, kind of borderline trolling people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I stopped doing that mainly because like a guy who was like unhinged, like,
Mm,
and my wife was pregnant and he emailed her like super late at night and it freaked her out. It was like a whole thing. And then I made that decision of like, okay, like, I have a following of people. So like people will see this. And then if I troll someone or I kind of like, even if it's sarcasm or whatever, which I'm kind of like that as a person, they don't know that. So it's like, it's this whole thing. And so
yeah.
like
Yeah.
I changed my persona on that where like I'm not trying to troll people. And then there's that side, but there is still that side of
Mm,
me where like you meet me offline, like you're gonna find out real quick, like what I'm like offline as well. Like I'm gonna connect with you.
yeah.
I'm gonna be a real person. But yeah, man, I appreciate you, being one of the first episodes on here, man. I'm excited for what you do, and excited to meet again in some of these in person events as
Yeah.
well.
It's going to be really cool to kind of continue commingling in our careers. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, just give the word, man. I'm there. I always like to leave it with like, is there any advice for job seekers today? What's something that they can do today for a job seeker, whether they're employed or unemployed, that they could implement tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah. Look, I just think I think nowadays you got to try every single thing you can. So you got to um, reach out to the network, people people you worked to in the past. Go to events, networking events, in person events, online events, and then apply for jobs that you're qualified for. Best way to know if you're qualified for a job, really, really easy. Look at your last company that you were at and and do a search on ChatGPT. What are competitor companies or similar companies? Or you could just use common sense and go, hey, I worked at a mid-sized manufacturing company, apply for other mid-sized manufacturing companies, and then look at what your last role was and apply for similar roles. Once you understand that like hiring is just on the internal side, it is a risk game, meaning the hiring manager who hires you, when they make the offer to you, they have a boss. And so their boss is, if you don't work out, the boss is going to go, why did you hire this person?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to look at their resume. And so if your resume doesn't make sense and they just took a risk on you because
Right.
you shot your shot, you shot your shot. If that's the whole thing,
Uh-huh.
shoot your shot.
Uh-huh.
Uh, they're going to look like an idiot. The VP is going to be like, well, why did you hire this person? So my advice is like, if you're actively on a job search, try everything, double down on the things that work. Open to work ban is a great example of this. Does it work? Doesn't it work? Who cares? Try it for yourself. If you see an increase in responses, great, it works. If you
Right.
see a decrease in responses, it doesn't work. Then just take it off. Like, don't complicate things. Do the things that work, double down on them,
Right.
avoid things that
I
don't
love that.
work, and then just try everything you can. Like, it's competitive right now. Keep that in mind. Um, and just don't give up, man. It's like everybody has different circumstances. I've seen people who land jobs in 6 weeks. I've seen people land jobs after a year. It's just, you got to keep pushing. You got to keep trying. And that's it, man. Make tweaks, change things.
I love it. Joel Lalgee?
You got it, bro.
Lalgee?
You got it. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you so much, Joel. I appreciate the time, and I'll see you on that LinkedIn feed, huh?
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. We'll see you.
All right, bye.
Wow. What an amazing conversation we just had with Joel Lalgee. We went deep. We got into faith. We got into parenthood, recruiting, all the things. So cool. Make sure you follow Joel on all his social medias, from LinkedIn to TikTok to Instagram. Make sure to jump on to our website, the Purple Acorn Network. That's where this show will be. And make sure, if you're listening on Spotify, leave a comment. On Apple, leave a comment. Thank you all for the support. Subscribe wherever you see this or hear this, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.